You know, I got up this morning around 4:30 and I came to the charts and I was flicking between Euro USD and gold. And I said to myself, look at this sell. It just was absolutely perfect. So what I did is I set two sell stops this morning. What time was it? So it's 2 hours behind. I think it's 5:47 that I set this. And I set them at what price? 22.57.5. 22.57.5. This is how I set it, right? 15-minute time frame. No, it was over here, right? This is where I set it. And I said to myself, you know what? I really like this. 22.57. 20, what did I have it at? 22.57.5. I was like, I really, really like this sell. So this candle had closed bearish, actually. It was across here, 22.57.5, like this. That had already closed bearish. Yes, this is exactly what happened. So this candle had closed bearish and price started to push down towards my entry without creating a wick. But then when it started to push back up, I set two sell stop entries and I said to myself, do you know what? I like this opportunity. I had a smaller stop loss than gold. I didn't even look at gold yet. No, actually, I'd looked at gold and avoided it and then said, I'll go for this. And then I was just going to go for a 1 to 2 because it was a reversal trade, but obviously there's logic behind the reversal trade. Price failing to break above, breakout, break back in, bearish candle close, anticipating the next candles go bearish. Price then pushed down and just missed my entry and then started to push back up. And I said to myself, do you know what? At this time, the best thing to do is just avoid it. Don't take the trade. That's probably a sign that you're trying to trade too early. It was like 5:47 exactly. And it's probably just not the right time to be trading. So I let it go. What happened then? Okay. Anyway, so I went over to gold and I was looking at gold and I kid you not, this morning I identified this level here around 1907.51. And I said to myself, all the way from 4:30 this morning, I had it in the back of my mind that I was not going to trade the breakout. I was going to wait for price to pull back to this level. Okay, that's the plan. And I was going to execute the minute it came back to this level. When I was on the 1 minute time frame, every time I was watching this, where was this? So it was around 4:30. Every time price came to this level, I kept saying, do you know what? I'm going to sell it. I'm going to sell it. I'm going to sell it. Why? Well, I saw that price continue to fail to break above these, et cetera, et cetera. It was this one that I was planning to sell. This one first. And then I said, no, avoid it. This one came back to this level. And I said, you know what? I'm still waiting for this level. This was my thought process this morning. I was going to do a YouTube video about it as well because it's so crazy. But I'm going to wait for this level. It came back here. I didn't sell it. It pushed down, came back to this level here. I said I'm going to sell it, and I didn't. So I just kept holding and holding and holding, not to sell this, not to sell this. Started ironing my clothes, made my coffee, and I could see price kept failing. I think by this time, a new 15-minute candle had opened. It had created some sort of resistance around this level. Yeah. It created some resistance around this level here. And I was like, it's not going to get back to this level, is it? It's going to continue pushing bearish. So I was starting to feel like really, really horrible feelings of FOMO. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm so glad I get to talk to you guys, man. It's so good venting this off. The FOMO was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. Like the pain and the emotions that I was going through was horrible. But I kept saying, all right, you're speaking to one of the members in the community. They've just come to you and said, I took this sell on gold and it hit stop loss. And then I just put myself in their position and said to myself, well, why did you sell here if you're planning to sell at this key level here? They was like, because I thought it was going to go down. So what would my answer have been? Well, you need to expect those results. If you're taking a sell here, your stop loss needs to be above here, period, because that's the safest place for it to be, especially from a 15-minute perspective, right? This is where it needs to be, above here. So if you're putting your stop loss above where you think the new resistance is forming, then in theory, you're cheating the market because you're hoping that it will go down, even though that you know the best stop loss is above here. I also said if you sold here and you didn't wait for here, then you need to just accept the loss and walk away. And in the back of my mind, I was like, I'm not prepared to take the loss unless price comes back here. What happened? Price came back here and it just tapped it. And by this time, I think I was brushing my teeth, putting a bit of water in my hair, ready to put some hairspray and walk out the door. I had been waiting from 4:30. Price then started to reject this level and push down. Now, as price rejected this level, you probably will see from where it rejected to where I entered, we're looking at 20 pips here. So now I was FOMOing even more. It was the worst feeling in the whole wide world, because look at where I had planned to take that trade and look where it rejected. Why? Well, if you take a look at the 4H time frame, we can see that price had pushed a lot. What I had identified is that the range of this 4H candle has already exceeded the average of the previous candles here. Oh, we'll leave all that rubbish on there. Not exceeded, had matched the previous range. So in the back of my mind, I knew if we're getting these multiple wick rejections here, there's a very high chance we're not going to push higher. So this was all of my thoughts that was going through the back of my mind. Now, this is where I wanted to sell it. I missed about 20 pips in the move. I was FOMOing. At this point, I was like, you know what? I'm going to buy off of the support. Why? Because I think by the time I had planned to take this trade, now we're talking about the new 4H candle open. Price needs to create a wick, okay, on the 4H candle. So the previous 4H candle has rejected. Now, even if it's going to continue down, my thoughts kept telling me because I missed this entry here, or not missed, didn't take it, for better words, the idea was that price is going to continue to push up. So I wanted to take a buy for this level, but what I needed was the 15-minute candle close. Now, my intentions were never to take a buy. It was just that, you know, emotionally and psychologically, I could have been a shitload of money up. Do you understand? 20 pips on gold with two, well, it wasn't two positions, it would have been one, but still, I'd have been laughing. I would have been done. Anyway, so I was waiting for the rejection. It didn't happen. So price did push up, but obviously I need the candle close with a rejection so I can get a resistance and then trade above the resistance. Anyway, it didn't happen. Price continued to push down by this time now. And I said, you know what? It's either now or never. Enter this trade. And I jumped in. I did not obviously like the stop loss because it just was bigger than I really wanted it to be, comparable to this trade here, etc., etc. And I just really didn't think at this time that this new 4H candle would push down after this candle closed bearish. Even though from a 15-minute perspective, it met my plan, it didn't sit well with me. But what I did is I just really trusted the process on this one. I took a little walk and a breather near my office, beautiful open space, river, everything. And I just said, look, focus, let it go. You're either going to take this trade or you're not. If you take it and it loses, I know how you're going to feel. You're going to feel super pissed because you could have got the best entry and been out and done. But if you lose, it is just a loss today. So I entered the trade. And as you can see, price continued to push down. After this big 4H bullish candle, I had no faith that this would go down other than the pattern that I'm used to trading, which is a strong push phase, price failing to break above, multiple wick rejections, 15-minute candle close. And then I had confluence of the new 4H candle opening in anticipation that if this continued up, we would have continued up, but it failed and continued bearish. I entered with momentum and I actually hit this trade on the head, literally. Now, I will tell you something as well. After winning this trade, I did not feel satisfied. I did not feel fulfilled. And I actually done something that I shouldn't have done, which was take the buy on the way back up. Now, I'm telling you all of this not to brag because I've taken 2 trades this morning and I've won them. Winning for me is not as important as being patient, remaining disciplined, being in control of my emotions, and managing my mental state of mind. So this morning, even though I have won 2 trades on gold back to back, it came off of the back of FOMO, which I was fortunate enough to manage due to the fact that I'm very, very consistent with my patterns and my process. But at the same time, it could have gone horribly wrong. What I did, I saw that price had pushed down a lot on the 15-minute time frame. The idea here is when taking a reversal trade like this, just like the one above, is I'm waiting for multiple wick rejections. So price to fail, to continue to push down, etc., leaving wicks behind. I'm looking for a resistance to form. So in the back of my mind, sellers are planning to sell, stop losses are above. And the idea is that if price starts to break above, then we should have an impulse move back up just to correct the move that pushed back down. That's the thought process, okay? This happens within milliseconds because I've reinforced it so much. And this is all I think about, okay? So when I saw price had pushed down a lot and I started to see price create this structure here, which is a structural low, higher low, the break of the structural high, I said to myself, do you know what? There's a very high chance now that there's going to be a reversal in this market. We have a structural high that's broken, a higher low. And now the idea is this: if we break above this structural high, then we should continue back up at least to some of these levels here. And that's when I took the buy on the break of the structural high. On this occasion, I was using the 1 minute time frame. I had about 13 pip stop loss, and then I took the buy back up to a 1-to-2 risk reward ratio trade. So these were my 2 trades this morning. If you was to ask me if I would do this live with you, this buy, probably not, because I really rely on my 4H time frame to help me take my trades. But as I said, this is something that I've done off of my own back simply because of the outcome of this. Now, the point I'm trying to make here for all of you this morning as an illustration is that if you take a trade that you're FOMOing over, that you're emotionally attached to, that you fear losing, you know, you're just not confident with it, you don't have any faith with it for whatever reason, even if it is a pattern that you've taken for the last 3 months consistently, right? If you have those emotions and you're having to deal with a mental battle that you know could potentially lead to disaster, then the best thing to do is just avoid taking that trade. Yes, the market could fly all the way down and you miss it and you don't take it. But I tell you what, you'll be in a much better state of mind, and you would also be at peace as well. You might suffer for an hour or two. I could have made X amount. I could have passed this challenge. I could have done this. I could have done that. But believe me, it's much better to go through those emotions and thoughts than to take a trade that you are not confident about 100%. For whatever reasons, maybe because you missed the best entry like me, or you just don't want to trade against the higher time frames, which the 4H was up. Do you understand? Because what will happen is, even if you go and make yourself 10 grand, 20 grand, 30 grand, 40 grand, pass FTMO, pass funding talent, whatever it may be, even if you win that trade, you are still not going to be fulfilled. Because everything that stirred up prior to that will still be lingering. And in the back of your mind, just going to be like, boy, I know I shouldn't have done that. I've done it. Okay, I've won. I've made this. I've passed this. I've achieved this. But you're just not going to get the satisfaction. What does that lead on to? That leads on to you chasing that euphoria, or that try to reach back to that satisfaction level again. And then you would end up jumping into another trade like I did, or you might take a trade that doesn't win, that would then spiral out of control and you lose the losses, etc., etc. So please just really bear that in mind. I don't care what money I've made today. I don't care what I feel I've achieved today, what that money could buy me. I don't feel fulfilled or satisfied. I feel relieved because it was an absolute battle in my mind. And when you're battling with your mind, you know, you just become fatigued. And as a trader, becoming fatigued is just not the way you want to be trading. So please, please bear that in mind, traders. Please bear that in mind.